Welcome back to Silverstone, everybody, for our second Radical Challenge and SR1 Cup Championship race of the day. The cars are already on their formation lap, and as they head around the circuit, we should very quickly be able to guide you through the grid, and we'll get through as many rows as we can before the race gets underway, because they're already about halfway round their formation lap. The way that they line up then is based on the second fastest times from qualifying, and it is the car of number 39, James Lay, that will start from pole position alongside his 14, John McLeod. Row 2 is 58, Anthony Ayres, and 428, Gustavo Raffles. Row 3, 63, Jim Booth and Ben Stone, with row 4 being Chris Peen and Noah Dimble. Row 5, Peter Tyler and Elliot Goodman, with row 6 being Chris Short and Matt Jones, and it's Jason Richover and James Sweetenham that are there on row number 7. Row 8, Mark Williams and Jacek Zielonka. Row 9, Andy Lowe and Chris Myhill. And row 10 is Wesley Fongini and Jack Lang, with row 11 being Andrew Gord and John Davis. Lee Jackson starts on his own on the 12th row of the grid, because Daryl De Leon is the first of those that heads up the Radical SR1 charge from Tom Fleming, and then it's Tom Booth and Tom Wood and Fraser McFadden. Ben Casely, who was curiously off the pace in the race earlier on, and James Ockenden. Then it's James Hadley, Paul Atherton, Sally Erdman, Rob Greenwood and Darren Nutton are the last of those. So we just about got rattled through the grid in time, because the Radical SR1 guys go off about 10 seconds, and girls in the case of Sally Erdman, go off about 10 seconds after the main Radical Challenge competitors. So James Lay, the black car with the yellow flashes, sitting there on pole position. It's black and Dayglow green for John McLeod that sits alongside. Black, red and white for Anthony Ayres, alongside the white car with its blue flashes in the hands of Gustavo Raffles, who on second fastest times was 4th quickest. What might he be able to do from there? So for the final time today, at least, we're about to go racing in the Radical Challenge Championship. The lights go out and they charge their way up towards Copse Corner for the first time, and it's going to be James Lay that leads the pack up towards Copse Corner. Anthony Ayres side by side with John McLeod, but Peter Tyler gets spun around, gets clipped, into the gravel trap goes he. Jack Lang gets tangled up as well, so that may well bring about a safety car there, because Peter Tyler lost the tail end of the car. He was clipped by one car, but then was clobbered by Jack Lang, who's also ended up, I'm sure, with suspension troubles and in the gravel trap up at Copse Corner. So localised yellows there for the moment. The rest of the field all filing their way through, but it is James Lay that leads the way. James is the reigning Radical SR1 champion, stepping up to the Challenge Championship for this year. As for the SR1 Cup competitors, well, they just charged their way past the stricken cars at Copse Corner for the first time, and in theory there'd be no overtaking for them at Copse Corner. The other car that's off, I'm afraid, looks as though it was Jacek Zielonka's car that was also tangled up as well, his yellow car off and into the gravel. But for the SR1 Cup competitors, it's Daryl De Leon, I think, that's leading the pack in the early stages, fresh from what for him was win number 5 of the season earlier on. There's the rather battered remains of Jack Yang's car. The race still just continuing at the moment, and at the moment no sign of there being a safety car period. There is Jacek Zielonka's car. His car engine still running. Marshall's trying to assist him out of the gravel, but it doesn't look it's going to go anywhere, I'm afraid. So we'll have to wait and see as to whether safety car might be required. We're looking at Jim Booth at the moment. Now Jim is in the Masters class, so his car is lightning quick in a straight line, because it is one of the cars, in fact the only car I think that we've got in the Masters class over the course of this weekend. So he'll be quick in a straight line as we do go, not unsurprisingly, full course caution. So his car is Masters class caters for the SR8s and SR10s and RXCs, whether they be Spiders or Coupes. So it's quick in a straight line, but he struggles a little bit through the corners, does Jim. Bigger, heavier car, not quite as nimble. So a bit like race number 1. Overtook cars in a straight line, lost out on them in the next few corners. That'll be one that's well worth watching out for. So we do go full course caution. Safety car is out there to scoop up the 3 errant cars that we'd got that were tangled up in that first corner incident. Number 80, Peter Tyler, went into a spin. He was caught by Jacek Zielonka and Jack Yang. We used to have a Jack Lang raced in Radicals, but Jack Yang is behind the wheel this weekend, and those 3 cars in need of assistance from our fantastic Silverstone marshals to scoop them all out of harm's way. So under safety car, James Lay is the race leader. Number 58, Anthony Ayres in second place, and number 14, John McLeod in third. Chris Preen had a really good first lap, actually. He started 7th, but was up to 4th at the end of the first lap, was the number 4 car of Chris Preen. The all-white car of Ben Stone is 5th, and Noah Dimble, who was the championship leader coming into this weekend, completes the top 6. For the SR1s, it's the car we're looking at now, which is the car of Daryl de Leon, who is leading the SR1 charge at this stage. He's down in 24th position overall, but it's the fastest of the SR1s that we got out there before we went full course caution. Tom Fleming at the wheel of the number 73 car is second of the SR1s, and it's going to be Tom Wood, the other Tom, that's third of the SR1s at the moment. But that's the car there of Chris Short, who was involved in race number 1, if you're watching it, for a great fight for the lead of the Fangio category. Himself, Chris Preen and Peter Tyler were all rooted together for the lead of the Fangio category at one stage, and ultimately in that race earlier on it was Chris Preen that took the win in the Fangio category. Chris Short, we just looked at, was second. Remember, the Fangio category is for drivers of a certain age, and I say that purely because it varies each year as to whether you're eligible for the Fangio category or not. Radical look at the average age of all of the competitors and then sort of round it one way or the other to pick out an age that is suitable. And if you are one of the older drivers in the category, not only are you eligible for the overall championship to score points, but you can score points in a championship within a championship for the Fangio category. We also have the Masters class, as we mentioned, only one entrant in that, and we have the rookie category as well, certainly for the Radical SR1 Championship. Rookies, for those in their first season that haven't got a lot of experience, but you're only still eligible for that, even in the SR1s, as long as you don't win a race. And we have seen some rookies go on and win races this year. The likes of Ben Caisley, for instance, was eligible for the rookie category for the first couple of rounds of the championship. Then he went and won a race at Brands Hatch and also won a race at Donington, and no longer is he now eligible for that category. So, safety car out there. Shouldn't take too long to sort out the problems. There's John Davis in that fantastically liveried black and gold car, very reminiscent of the Lotus Formula 1 cars from the 1970s and 1980s. 1980s in particular, with their black and gold livery. Nice to see that car out there. But frustration for the drivers. Still work to do though, so Daryl de Leon and co in the SR1 category, just working their way out of the loop and up towards Aintree, still trying to maintain as much tyre temperature as they can in their tyres. There goes James Hadley, the wheel of his number 40 car. The somewhat battered car of Jack Yang is winched out of harm's way by the JCB telehandler, which means that with the cars and the safety car already about to head back over the start-finish line, we're going to have at least one further lap behind the safety car before we are able to get things back underway. So again, there's plenty of opportunity to try and maintain some tyre temperatures in the control Hankook tyres that all of the cars have been running for a couple of seasons now. Was it 3, 4, 5 years maybe since the Radical Championships globally were signed up to all run on the Hankook tyre? We've got at least Jack Yang's car out of the way. Jacek Jalonka's car, I'm guessing we're going to maybe leave where it is or drag it further into the gravel. So that will just take a while to sort out. The whereabouts of Peter Tyler's car, there it is. It is just about to be winched onto the back of the recovery unit, flatbed recovery unit. And as ever, trying to clear the track as quickly as possible, whilst also trying to ensure that we don't cause any further damage to the cars, and then get them strapped down and then get them out of harm's way. So recovery trucks then need to leave the circuit as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if even after this lap we still have a further safety car lap. We'll have to wait and see. So you can just see how much they're still working, weaving from side to side, on and off the brakes as well, to try and maintain some temperature into the surface of the tyre and the core of the tyre as well, on and off the brakes, to allow the brake temperatures to radiate out into the rims. That rim then will get hot, which will expand the air in the tyre and keep the tyre warm at its core as well. So even though you're behind the safety car, there's still work to be done. Not quite as much work as when you're racing flat out. I think we're probably about a lap and a bit away from getting the race back underway. Now there's Ben Caisley. I was quite surprised with Ben Caisley's pace in the race earlier on today. Now Ben is lying second in the Radical SR1 Cup Championship standings coming into this weekend. He was only 6 points off the lead of Daryl de Leon, but come the race earlier on, Ben Caisley could only manage 4th of the SR1's home, whereas Daryl de Leon, the championship leader, claimed the win, so he picked up the 40 points. Only 27 points if you finish in 4th place for Ben Caisley, so considering he was only 6 behind, he lost a further 13 points in the championship standings earlier on, so he's now 19 points adrift, which does make it increasingly harder, because this is race number 2 of 3 this weekend at Silverstone. Longer race weekend for them. Then we're back to the double race format at Alton Park up in Cheshire on the 13th of August, and the final championship rounds take place at Donington Park on the Grand Prix circuit on the 17th of September. So almost there now. The yellow car of Jacek Zielonka just being hoisted out of harm's way. Once that is back behind the barriers, we'll be good to go. But as I did suggest, I thought we might have one further lap behind the safety car, and the lights are still on as it comes round through Luffield. So I think, unless it's a late call, we're going to get one further lap behind the safety car. Or did it just flick its lights off there just as it disappeared out of view? I'd be surprised if it turned them off so late, but call from race control will be surely to try and get this race back underway as quickly as possible. No, I think we're going for one further lap behind the safety car, which is not a surprise. So hopefully next time when the cars head round through Copse Corner, all of the recovery trucks will be out of harm's way. The telehandlers will be back behind the barriers. The marshals will have gone back to their individual marshals posts, and that's the telltale signs that everything is cleared up, everything is sorted, and hopefully next time through we might be going flat out up towards Copse Corner rather than as they're doing at the moment, at a relative snail's pace compared to what they ought to be doing. So I think it was only the 3 cars that we lost. You can see, yeah, in the background everything seems to be fine now. There's no obvious signs of any cars. There might just be one JCB telehandler just moving around in the background of the shot, but I think we're pretty much there. The lights should go out on the safety car when it heads down the Wellington Straight. Well, at the moment they're only just feeding their way out of Chapel Curve and onto the Hanger Straight, so there's still half a lap to go before we see any sign of potentially the safety car extinguishing its lights. Still have gone the Radical Challenge competitors. The SR1 Cup competitors will have been briefed the fact that if there is a safety car, again, a bit like the start really, they sort of need to hang back by 10 seconds. Now there's John Booth at the wheel of his number 63 car. John at the wheel of the Radical SR10. Fantastic looking car, the SR10. Looks very similar to the SR3s, but once you study the aero on it a bit more, you see that it's subtly different in terms of the light clusters to it. Certainly the engine and the power delivery of the SR10 is significant, and also the aero on it in particular, particularly around that front end aero. So there's Tom Fleming, currently 21st in the race, but he is second of the Radical SR1 Cup competitors. Tom is a driver who is pretty new to motorsport as well. He's one of the drivers that's eligible for the rookie category. Of course, should he take a win in Radical SR1s overall, then that, again, a bit like we saw for Ben Casey earlier on in the season, would mean he's no longer eligible for the rookie category, so his points scoring accumulation would stop after that race weekend. Well, ideally he'll want the win. He'd like to remain as eligible for the rookie, but he'd rather have the overall win, and we'll see as to what he might be able to do when we get things back underway to see whether he can perhaps try and hang on to the coattails of Darryl de Leon, who has been the man to beat very much so in Radical SR1 Championship so far this year. So 8 minutes of the race remaining. Most of it so far has been under the safety car, but the lights are out on the safety car, and we will very, very shortly get the race back underway. James Lay really backing up the pack as he came in towards Brooklands to try and slow them up as much as possible, and then he can try and get on the gas and try and break away. Let's just have a quick look. Has he gone for it now? Yes, he has. Up towards Luffield, goes for it. There's no overtaking until they get towards the start-finish line, and Anthony Ayres was almost into the gearbox of James Lay there as they were heading round through Luffield, and we haven't even got the race back underway. So keen was Anthony Ayres to make sure he stuck with James Lay, the race leader, that he was pushing as hard as he could to ensure that he was not caught napping in any way, shape or form. So it's a good restart from both of the men at the front. John McLeod sitting there in third place will be the leading driver in the Fangio category as well at the moment, as they charge their way down towards Maggotts and Beckett's for almost really the first time at full race pace, albeit we are now on lap number 5. So Through they'll go. It looks as though it is Chris Preen that's there in 4th place. Noah Dimeball has just squeezed his way past Ben Stone for 5th, so the red car with its black flashes goes through and ahead of the all-white car of Ben Stone. You can still see them weaving around to try and keep a bit of tyre temperature in as well. Watch out also for Jason Rishover, the number 23 car, looking to try and weave his way through. As we go 3 wide, James Sweetnam side by side and looking to try and get past Chris Short. Chris Short also looking to attack and defend from Gustavo Raffles, while they're both coming under pressure from the number 23 car in the hands of Jason Rishover as well. For the Radical SR1s, it looks so Darrell de Leon has got a good jump again and is still managing to maintain the lead of the Radical SR1 Cup at this stage of the race. But James Lay setting about the task admirably in the lead of the race, already just starting to pull away ever more and increase that gap between himself and the chasing pack behind with 6 minutes remaining. Now James Lay has had 5 wins so far this year. Anthony Ayres, the driver that sits there in 2nd place at the wheel of the Mectec prepared car, has had just a single win so far this year for Anthony Ayres, and that came at the opening race weekend on the 9th and 10th of April at Donington Park. 3rd is John McLeod. Well, John so far this year has not had a win. He's had a couple of seconds. He's not stood on the top step of the podium, has John McLeod. He certainly had the pace in qualifying because he qualified on pole for the first race, started on the outside of the front row for this one. This is Chris Preen under enormous pressure from Ben Stone. He took the place away from him a lap or so ago. Well, he's now in danger of losing it again. And also James Sweetnam there was coming under pressure from, that looked like number 18 car of Mark Williams. So those are 2 cars that are fighting for what I think will now be 11th and 12th positions as they flash their way over the start-finish line. So 5 minutes remaining for the lead of the Radical SR1 Cup. It's still Darrell de Leon that hangs on to the lead of the Radical SR1 Cup. Some good squabbles going on further down as well, though, as Tom Wood is trying to keep the number 7 car of Fraser McFadden at bay, as those two are about to flash their way over the start-finish line. As they go through the start-finish line onto the hangar straight, goes our race-leading pack, with nobody quite close enough to do a great deal about each other, I wouldn't say this time. They've all got enough daylight between them. Maybe further down through the order, Mark Williams is feeling the pressure as Elliot Goodman jinks out from behind. Can he work his way through on the run up towards Stowe Corner? Yes, he does. So through goes Elliot Goodman, through and ahead of Mark Williams, the former SR1 racer. So that will be a change for 11th and 12th place now. Elliot Goodman up to 11th. Past the wing go the leading pack, 4 minutes to go. So they'll be on to their anti-penultimate lap, I would say, this next time through. So the one that they're on, and then 2 more, 3 more maybe even thereafter. Last time through, of course, was the first time we had a lap that was at full race pace. So already now having posted the fastest lap of the race with a 2-minute 5.885 is that man there, James Lay, who's looking to try and make it 2 out of 2 here this weekend. Still, of course, with that slightly longer 45-minute pit stop race to come over the course of tomorrow as well, for which in the Radical Challenge Championship and the SR1 Cup combined for this weekend, there will be a separate qualifying session for that grid. It's not based on finishing positions from today or anything to do with qualifying from today. It's based on the separate qualifying that will take place tomorrow. So James Lay has now opened up a 1 second gap between himself and Anthony Ayres. Good fight going on still between Gustavo Raffles, who is trying to keep at bay the aspirations of Matt Jones. They'll be fighting for, I think, 13th and 14th position. And they will shortly flash their way over the start-finish line, those cars. There they go through there. A bit like earlier on, everybody has got somebody to play with. New fastest lap of the race goes the way of Noah Dimeball that time through. 2 minutes 5.222. So he sits there in 4th position at the moment, Noah. Remember, he was the championship leader coming into this weekend. He's only had 1 win so far this season, but it's his consistency, really. Only once all year has he finished outside of the top 4, you could argue, because he was 2nd earlier on today. He's had a win. He's had, what, 5 seconds now, and I think 3 4th places as Noah Dimeball. So number 77, arguably one of the most consistent drivers this season, and that's why he's leading the championship. And again, even 4th here, be another good haul of points for him. You see, there is the red car. He's not that far away from John McLeod, so it could be a potential podium spot if Noah Dimeball can close onto the coattails of that black and day-glow green machine. So up towards the sweep at Abbey they'll go. Flat out through Abbey in these cars. Let the tyres, let the aero do the work. And then from there, as you head round through Farm flat out, it's then heavily onto the brakes, down through the gears for Village Corner. Start to accelerate your way from one side of the circuit to the other to try and get the car turning towards the tight left-hander at the loop, and then squeeze the throttle again and flat out through Aintree Corner onto the Wellington Straight. Now Noah Downbull has got a good exit this time onto the Wellington Straight, and John McLeod knows all about that because he's moving the car over to the left-hand side to protect the all-important inside line as they come towards Brookland. So Downbull dives out from behind to try and take the normal racing line heading into the corner. Nothing doing just as yet, so again he'll take a wider sweep through Luffield to see if he might be able to cut back on the exit and get the overlap as they head up towards Woodcote Corner, but that's not going to work either. John McLeod is more than experienced in driving these radicals, having been at the sharp end of the championship for a good number of years now. Finished 7th in the championship last year, did John. 5th the year before, 4th the year before that. He was 9th in 2018 and has been knocking around these cars for a very good number of years, and largely always at the sharp end. New fastest lap of the race for the race leader, however, so that's potentially an extra championship point going the way of James Lay at the moment. 2 minutes 5.010 from him. There's number 1, 2, 3. That's Lee Jackson. We saw some great things from Lee Jackson in the race earlier on today. He really did pick up some significant places from his starting position relative to his finishing position. He qualified, I think it was 23rd, and ultimately finished in 18th position. The number 1, 2, 3 car now is in 18th position. He started this race in 23rd as well, so it's been a good couple of races from Lee Jackson. John McLeod has managed to put a bit more daylight between himself in 3rd place and the all-red car of Noah Downbull behind, so that gap has just increased between the pair of them. Look in the background now, you can see Chris Preen still fighting away with the all-white car of Ben Stone. That's for 5th and 6th position. Now our race leader is 2.4 seconds up the road now from the number 58 car of Anthony Ayres. John McLeod, Noah Downbull, and then this great fight going on for 5th and 6th between Chris Preen and the number 4 car and the all-white car of Ben Stone that sits behind. Chris Preen is running 2nd in the Fangio category at this stage. 3rd in the Fangio category will be Jason Rishover, who that time through was up to 7th place, having got himself through and ahead of the Radical SR10 of the American driver, Jim Booth. Now Chris Preen under attack from the car of Ben Stone. Ben Stone isn't going to be able to do it, and the checkered flag is going to come out, and it is going to be another win now for James Lay, who comes through to claim another victory, his 6th of the championship season. It's Anthony Ayres in 2nd place, John McLeod in 3rd, Noah Downbull in 4th. Chris Preen just holds off Ben Stone to take 5th, with Stone finishing in 6th place. 7th place taking the flag now is Jason Rishover, who got himself ahead of Jim Booth in the closing stages, who finishes in 9th. I think Goodman, I think it will be the complete top 10 at this stage. As for the SR1s, well, the number 2 car of Darryl de Leon was leading the way in the Radical SR1s, and he'd been leading it by about a second between himself and the 73 car of Tom Fleming. And looking at what they've done on this final lap of the race, I think we're probably going to see Darryl de Leon to come through to claim his 6th win of the championship season. So through comes Darryl de Leon any second now to take the checkered flag. Yes, so there goes Darryl de Leon. He did finish ahead of the number 73. And Fraser McFadden, I think, will complete the podium for the Radical SR1s. There through shot there went the number 7 car. So I think that's pretty much everybody through to take the checkered flag, other than maybe the car of Darren Nutten. Don't think we've also seen Sally Eardman come through yet either to take the checkered flag, but she will literally be a matter of seconds away from taking the checkered flag. But for James Lay, perfect start to the weekend for him. 2 wins out of 2 for the number 39 car. That's now 6 wins this season for James Lay, and as the man who was the champion in the Radical SR1 Cup last year, he has got his first season of racing in the Radical Challenge Championship underway perfectly well. So he will be as pleased as punch with that one, with the way that things have gone. So we should be able to confirm the results with you then as the cars head round on their slowing down lap. It's a win to today for James Lay, with Anthony Ayres in second place, and John McLeod finishes third but also picks up the Fangio category. Noah Dimeball was fourth, ahead of Chris Preen in fifth, and Ben Stone completes the top six. James Sweetenham, Jason Rishover, Jim Booth in ninth was the winner of the Masters class in his SR10, and Elliot Goodman wraps up the top 10. In 11th place, it was going to be Chris Short. It's Gustavo Raffles that finishes there in 12th place. 13th place goes the way of Matt Jones, ahead of Chris Mayhill in 14th place. And Wesley Fongini finishes in 15th place. Mark Williams, Anthony Gord, Lee Jackson are there in 18th place. 19th is Andy Lowe, and completing the top 20 was John Davis, who finished in 20th position. 21st was the first of the SR1's home, his 6th win of the season in the SR1 Cup for Darrell de Leon, just ahead of Tom Fleming and Fraser McFadden, with Tom Wood finishing in 24th place. And Ben Casely, a little bit off the pace again, really, for the man who came into this weekend lying second in the championship. He could only muster 25th overall and 5th in class. And 6th in the SR1s goes the way of James Ockenden. And you could see that it was James Hadley, Paul Atherton, then Darren Nutten and Sally Erdman that completed the top 30, with just outside of the top 30, Rob Greenwood was the last of the finishers in 31st. Problems at the first corner for Peter Tyler, for Yaya Chironka and for Jack Yang, who all retired on the spot at Copse Corner and brought about that safety car period. So that is it for today, at least, for the Radical Challenge Championship and the SR1 Cup. But do remember, they've got a 45-minute race to look forward to tomorrow. That is scheduled to go green at 1:20 tomorrow afternoon. So if you've joined us today, thanks for joining us, but please make sure you're back with us tomorrow as we look forward to some more Radical racing. Until tomorrow, goodbye.